Hi, Jerry Guionis here, your favourite Australian, and today we're sharing you posing and lighting tips and techniques that can be for anyone. Now, whether you shoot guys, girls, couples, and just watch the episode. So I'm starting off photographing a really cool portrait of Wyatt, who I've photographed many, many times using the Ice Light bicolor, and I'm using a sliver of light coming through the barn doors. So we're going to build on this. So right now, sliver of light in his face, really cool, not much detail in the background at all, very dramatic, and then we're going to build on it. We're going to add a bit of an edge, we're going to add a bit of a background light, and then we'll see where we go with this. Okay, that sliver of light's looking really cool. I actually want to get his eyes off camera. And what I used to say when I used to photograph early in my career, I would just say to my subject, hey, look this way. Now I get him to look at my hand, get my beautiful catch lights, and then I get Wyatt to look at something in the environment. So it could be a top of a tree, it could be top of a building. So I'm going to start with that shot, just really cool. Give me that little hint of a squint again there, mate. That's good. Hold it there. That's good. That's perfect. Hold it there. Awesome. Now we're going to build on this. We're going to add an edge light on this side just to give him some separation from the background, and then we'll add some light to the background itself. So let's see how we go. Okay, so simple, clean portrait, sliver of light on him, very dramatic, and now we've added a bit of an accent light just to the edge of him. Just tilt your face there, mate. That's good. Hold it there. Easiest way to pose someone is get them to mirror you. So if you're looking at someone, they turn this way and that way. And then sometimes my fingers will be represent the top of his head, his jawline, and I can just do this, and it makes it so much easier. Okay, so let's do that shot here. Okay, hold it there. Keep looking at that spot. Chin down again, mate. Hold it there. Hold it. Good. Perfect. Hold it. I have clean, pure light that resembles daylight on him and the edge of him. For those playing at home, 5500 Kelvin degrees. And what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to put the Ice Light bicolor light behind him, and we're going to use it in a way where it's clean light first, and then we'll add a little bit of warmth to it and sort of see how it feels. And hold it. Perfect. Hold it. So let's look at the difference. We've done just 3 simple shots and we've built up on it. We've had one ice light from the front, that's the bicolor light, but at 5500 Kelvin degrees. We've had the same light behind, adding a bit of an edge light, and then right behind, we've actually projected some beautiful light and illuminated 2 8x8 X drops, and it just looks amazing. It's very simple, very clean, but it's an easy way to impress your subjects, whether it's clients or your neighbor or a friend. It works out really well. I actually love that light, that shadow on his jawline there. And also on this side, that sliver of light on his face cuts in and keeps and retains a shadow on the right-hand side. So if you're photographing someone with a fuller face, for example, and you want to create a sliver of light, it's fantastic. You get that main light on the person's face, that shadow just accenting the jawline, cuts in. Now, he's got a great shaped face anyway, not a problem. But for mere mortals like me, sliver of light on my face is going to work really, really well. Okay, so what we'll do now, let me have a look here. Let's crop maybe a little bit differently, just to sort of show you a few points of difference. So many people ask me about how do I crop and where do I crop a face and all that kind of stuff. Now, depending on the person, but I have a few what I call common denominators. I don't call them rules, I call them, well, this will work most of the time with this kind of person for these reasons. Now, what I want to do is bring attention to his eyes, have some negative space, and I want to crop him just above the brow. Now, here's the thing. If you crop someone in the head like this, it makes my head look like it goes on forever, or I'm bald, or both. Now, yes, I do have a big head. I have a very big brain. I need housing. That's just the way it is. Wyatt, I don't really know what's in there. But no. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have breathing space above the brow, but once I pass that point, you're going to crop into the hair or go all the way. Now, when I do crop above the brow, I've got to be careful not to actually crop the ear. That's a really important one as well. So above the brow, bit of the ear. With negative space, if you want something more harmonious, inviting, you want the negative space in front of the subject. If you want something more mysterious, you want the negative space behind the subject. In this case, I'm doing something quite dramatic. So I feel like the negative space should be behind him. So let's do that. And then what we'll do for fun, I'm actually going to photograph in black and white in camera. Of course, I'm actually photographing in RAW, which means I can go in any direction I want afterwards, but I'd like to actually see in my camera what I believe to be the final result. So this is going to work really, really well. Do me a favor, drop that shoulder a little bit. So this other left one, yeah, so just sort of bring it down. See, what I'm looking for, and what I just got there, was breathing space underneath his chin and above his shoulder line there. Now, do me a favor, just shuffle back a touch. Your whole body, just see how you lean. That's it. And then turn. That's it. And chin down. Good. So I am going to just angle that negative space there. That's good. Awesome, mate. Hold it there. Good. Eyes at me. Really cool. Good. Hold it there. Hold it. Good. And eyes at my hand again. That's it. Hold it. Brow pressure. That's it. Good. Hold it there. Hold it. Good. Hold it. Nice. Can you see? Look how sharp that is. So it's a nice little building block. Just remember, whenever you're photographing someone, whether it's an individual or a couple, don't waste the shot. And if you are doing this professionally and you want to shoot to sell, it's important that you start thinking about either the wall art or the album or whatever it is that you're actually doing. So in my case, I don't think about that new spread of an album or that new piece of wall art until I take that first shot of that particular series. What I could easily do now is just change the crop, change the angle, and all of a sudden I've got a completely different way of shooting. In this case, I'm actually photographing with a Nikon Z8. I'm photographing with a 105 macro, and it means I can get really close. So let's do that. So see what I've done here is that I've cropped half his face, and that's where I'm actually okay to crop into a facial feature, whether it's actually the nose or right down the middle of the lips. In this case, I've got all his lips cut into his nose. I'd be tempted to maybe include a little bit of that other eye, but I think of it either the eye socket is either in the shot or it's out. And I'm actually sure to actually get some negative space beyond his ear as well. So a cool way of getting a very different shot. And then just really quickly here, mate, it's good. Chin up a little bit. What I'm looking for, and what I'm looking at his eyes, I'm looking for the catch light within the iris of his eyes. So what happens is if he keeps his face there, why, just look this way. And then you see how the catch lights are actually in the sclera, the whites of the eyes? That's no good. We don't want that. At the very minimum, right there. Perfect. Hold it there again, mate. Hold it. Really cool. Here's the cool thing. All you got to do is once you've got one shot, you just simply change the angle and it changes the destiny of everything. So we're going to keep him there, change our angle, and get a completely different photograph. Turn your face white slightly to your left. Stop there. Oh, too much, come back. Or go again. Stop. So what I'm looking for here is you sort of see everyone's ear is a little bit different. There's a lot of texture and depth to an ear. I think it's actually one of the most weird part of the bodies, by the way. Not yours, just everybody's, okay? So don't take it personally. So you see how the light's just scraping that little part of his ear? It's just popping out. Now, either I get rid of it completely, get a hint of his jawline there, or I increase that sort of texture a little bit, and now it feels like it's done on purpose. If I go too far and it hits his nose, it's going to look a little bit weird. That's where I believe a lot of people have it wrong, unless you're trying to make things a bit more dramatic. It really depends on the person and what you're going for. In this case here, let me see what that feels like. See, I don't mind that. At least it's repeating that particular light and that shape. If this particular shadow gets too deep, I just want to bring that light around it again. What I do is I draw an imaginary line from me, my light, and where his face is. What I used to do when I first started photographing, I would tell my assistant or someone holding a light, I would say, here, 45-degree angle, and go bang. Now I just position myself where I want, and I can predictably, whether I'm using a strobe or a speed light or anything, I know it's not going to hit that nose. So I'm actually happy there. And so what I'm doing now in the Nikon camera system, I'm actually going to use the pinpoint focus. That makes my focus point smaller, so I can actually focus on the part of the eye that I want. And right now, in fact, let's build this the way we did the other one. So let's do this. Let's turn that off. Let's turn that off. Now that sliver of light, do you see how it's skimming his ear? That's a problem. We don't want that. So we're going to come over here. This is why sometimes your second photographer, if you do in fact have a second photographer, get a better shot than you do, because you're one-dimensional, you're photographing in one particular spot. What I often do is I'll press the pause button, metaphorically, so to speak, tell my subjects not to move anywhere, and then I just walk around and I see things very differently. Now, when I photograph him, a profile shot, he's going to be very tempted to look exactly where his face is pointing. Now, the problem with that is, now I'm actually going to be photographing the sclera, the whites of his eyes, but I want to see more iris. So I'm going to say to him, keep your face there, just your eyes here. That's it. It's going to feel weird. Look up a bit. There you go, about there. So now I'm photographing more the color, and now we get the catch light in the iris of his eye. Perfect. So let's build on it. Okay. It's awesome, mate. Hold it there. Give me some brow pressure again. That's it. Hold it there. Good. Yeah, that looks great. Happy with that. Now we're going to add a bit of an accent light. Some people call it an accent light, an edge light, a hair light. Pick one, and you can stick to it for the rest of your career if you wish. All right, that's good. Let's build on that now. That looks great. That's it. Perfect. And now let's add that light in the back. Okay. And let's have a look. Yeah, that looks great. Hold it there. Give me some brow pressure. Nice. That's good. It's good. So let's have a look. We've got 1 light, 2 lights, 3 lights, and we've got a really cool portrait. So a lot of people would refer to this as a bit of a film noir look, especially the black and white feeling. I like building upon this. This is an easy way to make your shots look very, very different. Take your base shot and then build on it. The beauty about the ice light with the slivers of light and the fact that it's a cylindrical design, it gives you many ways to go. If you want it softer on the subject, you'll basically hold it horizontal. It's more flood. It's got a flood of light. If you're holding it sort of vertical, especially with the barn doors, you'll create more of a sliver. So it depends on what you're trying to accent. In this case, I want it dark and moody and dramatic so it feels right. So it depends on who I'm photographing. With the male form, I'll often turn his body towards the light source and turn his face back in. With a female form, I will often turn the body away from the light source until a shadow starts appearing in the middle of the cleavage, middle of the dress, and then turn the face back in. When you're facing the camera like this, for example, it's just flat. It doesn't say too much. But when you turn the body away from the light, turn the chin to the outer shoulder and the eyes back in, now we get that softer sensibility. Now, of course, it depends on who you're photographing. I'm not saying every male needs to look masculine, every female needs to look feminine. It depends on how people identify, depends on what you're trying to say with your light. And if you're going for something a bit stronger, harder, softer, it depends on what you're going for. So remember, lighting is just not meant to be flattering, it's meant to be purposeful. One of the coolest things about the Westcott continuous light ecosystem is that it can be used on an app. In fact, the very light that's illuminating me right now is the L120B, a chip-on-board COB light. Beautiful light feathering off towards me right now, but I can add the L60B. I can also add the Ice Light 3s, which I'm very, very excited about, and you can do it all from your app. Okay, so as you can see, I've got my main light named main, I've got the edge light, and I've got the background light there as well. I simply tap on it, tap on the second one if I want to, and then the third, and of course I can go in there and adjust those settings accordingly. Now, yes, I can do it manually. If you want to drive the car manually, you're totally fine. You can do it on the unit itself. But I love the fact that we've got the technology that we can simply make it easier. So if you're photographing a couple, and you're photographing, in this case, a heterosexual couple, we've got Wyatt over here. We've photographed him on his own. Before we take him out, let's get Furley in, take some shots with both of them, and then he can take a break and we'll photograph Furley on her own, and then we'll change scenes altogether and we'll have a look at what we create. So Wyatt, I want you to Lazy Susan this way a little bit for me, okay? So Lazy Susan, now let me explain what that means.
Turn Oh, sorry. You're actually explaining.
So when I post people, I'll often give them directions, and I've learned over the years quicker, fun, more efficient ways of directing. Now, certainly posing, yes, easiest way is get the people to mirror you. So you establish those rules of engagement, so to speak. In this case, if I say to Wyatt, lazy Susan this way, it means keep the exact pose. I just want you to turn. Sort of like when you go to a restaurant and you see all those plates in the middle of the table, that lazy Susan, you just turn it around and have some fun. Or for old school people like me, turntable. Keep your pose and then turn left or turn right. So we're going to keep your, we're just going to lazy Susan this whole thing. Perfect. A bit more. So the idea is now I'm actually going to split light Wyatt. So I'm going to have light coming from one side. Whether I use the barn doors yet or not, I'm not too sure, but we're going to just slowly build it as we see it. So lighting from one side, and then I'm going to get Furley to come really close and turn her face in. So she's going to get that shadow side. He's going to be split lit. So we've got softer light on her, a bit more harsher on him. Pick an idea. I often say that creatives aren't short of ideas. The challenge is committing to one. Pick an idea, execute. Okay, turn this way again. Yeah, a bit more. Okay, good. And then Furley, I want you to come right over here. Okay, beautiful. I want you to come really, really close and just bring your face really close to his temple. So you're going to stand up straight. I'm happy for the height difference there. So now come a bit closer to me and turn your face this way a little bit. And now connect. So I believe there are 5 steps to a great photograph. Number 1 for me is lighting. Period. There's no question. I think at the start of my career, and perhaps the start of your career, whether you're a hobbyist or you're a part-time pro, full-time, I think most of us start by finding the best spot, the best location. So what I'm going to do is find the good light, and if a location attracts me, I either find the good light there or create the good light. But lighting is number 1. What am I looking for? A direction of light, iridescence, saturation, something that feels right. Number 2 is the background. Is it nondescript? Is it textured? What am I doing there? Number 3, I pose people. I put them in a situation that's flattering, purposeful for what I'm doing. Then number 4 is my camera technique, my lens choice, my lens compression. What am I doing? And the number 5 is the emotion. Now, at this point, I've done mainly just some cool shots of why. It could be my tone of voice evoking the emotion. It could be that hint of a squint, that bit of brow pressure, a soft breathing through the mouth. They're the kinds of things that are not overt. They're not like crazy laughing or crying, like if you're talking about the polar opposites. They're just a soft sensibility. Never underestimate the importance of telling your subjects, your clients, whoever you're photographing, of the mood that you're trying to convey. But you notice how I've done all of this without a camera in my hand. Now, certainly I'm photographing on a tripod, but it's important that we slow it down, do those first few steps without a camera, and then we get in. So now, and also establish the rules of engagement. Whoever you're photographing, tell them what you're trying to achieve and why. In this case, I do not want my subjects, whether they're professional models, whether it's your neighbor, I don't want them to move with every click of the camera. It's going to be a waste of time. Because the lighting is so specific, they need to be stationary. So don't underestimate the importance of telling them that. And also, please tell your clients or your subjects, whoever you're photographing, to slow down and always say to them, hey, if I like what you're doing naturally, I won't say a word, because they could be in the middle of something really beautiful, something really tender, and they say, where do I look? And then you've lost the shot. So slow down, take your time, establish how you shoot and why you do it. Then it'll make your life easier for the rest of the shoot. Okay, good. So tilt this way. Okay. So White, come a bit closer to me. That's it. Turn your face this way. Good. Oh, just top of your head. That's it. There you go. Perfect. Beautiful. All right. So see, love that. That little hint of light on White over here is coming from this side. The question is, I quite like it, but do I want to get rid of it? I'm just sort of, I'm debating here. Also, with the angle in which I'm shooting, if I want some separation between them, then that arm's going to go down, and I don't want these fingers popping out of nowhere. So we're going to bring them right down. And then sometimes I might just bring them right down to a point where they're soft. And now this hand, okay, I call this a waist of a waist. If we put his hand here, we're going to get rid of that beautiful curve. So the hand is either going to be up higher, or we get rid of it. Or if the hand goes here and we see fingertips, what's happening now is that means we're foreshortening those fingers, where like my entire arm and my hand can go out completely wide and you see the length of it. Whenever you point something towards a camera, it's going to be an issue. So you want to see the length of a body part, or at least understand it. So we're going to put that arm back. And again, we're just going to have some building blocks here. Beautiful, nice and close. And then turn your face this way. Bring that shoulder in a little bit. I love the sliver of your back there. That's gorgeous. Okay, stop there. And again, just there. So right now, the lighting on her is very flat, but from my angle, I want to see more shadow. So side lighting increases texture, depth, dimension, and form. So no different than like a landscape photographer wouldn't photograph with full sun onto a particular mountain. What you want to do is you want to get that sun at sunset or sunrise, and now we create those peaks and valleys with the highlight and shadow. The more highlight and shadow we see, the deeper that shot's going to actually look. So that sliver of light and that shadow looks absolutely beautiful. Obviously, I'm going to refine when I'm right in front of the camera, but let's see how we go from here. See how we've got a lot. Obviously, we're split lighting Wyatt. What is split lighting meaning? I'm lighting him from one side, not the other. In this case, I feel like I want more shadow here. Now, I can gobo it. What does that mean? I'm actually putting something in between the light and him. It's like it's a go-between. But in this case, I can just use the barn doors to create that shadow there and then illuminate her. Okay, so that being said, I actually feel like this would be a very classic, beautiful black and white portrait. So we're going to go in that route. So what we'll do here, just that hand just here, nice and soft, beautiful and delicate, beautiful. Very important too. Do you see how her arm is being enveloped in her body? If I bring that arm a bit further out, I'm actually wasting the waist. And if I bring that arm too far forward, I'm actually wasting the bust line. So it's important that we play a little bit here. Also, I want to slightly bend her knee here and then put your weight on your back leg, and then you're going to arch your back. There you go. Perfect. Okay, beautiful curves. Looking beautiful. Close a gap. Stunning. Okay. Yeah, that's gorgeous. It's beautiful. Hide your hand where I can't see it there, mate. Just over there. And just there. There we go. Perfect. Perfect. Okay. And then Felly, just tilt your head this way. And then close the gap. And then chin down there, Wyatt. And then chin up there, Felly. Turn your face Wyatt this way. Okay. You might be asking, why am I so particular here? I don't want her nose cutting into his eye socket. I sort of either want the negative space of the bridge of her nose where his eye should be. I feel like posing is like two pieces of a puzzle coming together. If the faces look good together as a puzzle piece, then you know you have it right. Turn your face this way and chin down there, Wyatt, and then chin up there for me, Felly. And then turn your face that way. That's perfect. A bit more. That's it. There we go. There you go. Perfect. And now I'm just going to get that sliver of light. See that shadow just cutting across? So we're split lighting him. There's a little hint of light on his eyes there. Yeah, that's better. That's much better. Going to bump this brightness up a little bit. Felly, bring your right shoulder in a little bit. Bit more. And bring your elbow in as well. So that's it. There you go. Okay. Gorgeous. Hold it there for me. Let me just see here. And then bring your left shoulder blade out a little bit. So just sort of like you're lazy Susaning a bit more that way. You're looking down there, Felly. And then Wyatt, you're peering off this way. That's cool. Just a nice little editorial look here. Good. Hold it there. Turn your right shoulder in a bit more to the shot there for me. Bit more. That's it. I want to expose her back a little bit more, that beautiful shadow. And then last minute, arch your back, booty out. Perfect. Gorgeous. Hold it there. Hold it. You'll notice what I'm doing is that when I'm cropping into him, I very rarely will actually have an arm come out of a shot and then into a shot. Here I've actually cropped him into the arm, but I have the crease. In my humble opinion over the years, I feel like that's more than okay. It feels right. It contains the shot. Think of it almost like a vignette with body parts, so to speak. The negative space is a little bit behind. I quite like that. So I've photographed here and I'm cropped just underneath the curvature of her butt. So we've got these beautiful repeating lines. And remember too, the more curve we see, the more curves we see, then there's harmony and repetition. So that's really important. And then eyes down again. That's it, hold it there. Eyes up a bit high there, Wyatt. Good. No, chin down, just your eyes up higher. That's it, good. Hold it there, hold it. You've noticed that what I'm doing here is I'm actually photographing only his left eye, a camera right eye in focus, and kept her out of focus. If she was looking up and out of focus, it would be a problem. I could easily increase the depth of field or get them on the same plane, but I'm giving myself creative license that that's totally okay. Look how sharp his eye is there. And then if I wanted to, I can simply come around here and then photograph and feature her. It's a very easy way of getting a different shot. Just change your angle and it changes the destiny of the shot. That's perfect. So again, the beauty of photographing with a macro lens. Okay. White, turn your face towards me, mate. Bit more, bit more. Good. And then fairly come really close. Good, good, good. White, turn your face more left again. Hold it there. That's awesome. And then fairly, very gently turn your face towards me a touch. Just there. Good, don't move. Perfect. Okay. And then fairly eyes at me. It's gorgeous. Close your eyes if you can. Just blink it out a little bit. And then Wyatt, turn your face more this way. That's it, just there. That's it. Gorgeous. Hold it there. That's beautiful. Don't move. Gorgeous. Hold it. And then Wyatt, looking down, mate. Actually, both look at me, actually. Let me have a look. Both look at me. That's it. Let me increase my depth of field here. Hang in there, guys. That's it. Beautiful. Hold it. Stunning. Beautiful. Let me just see. So now we're photographing Furley on her own. She's absolutely breathtaking, inside and out. And now we want to capture her beauty. I'm thinking about 3/4, and we're actually using an 8x8 X-Drop Pro parchment paper. For those who are American, parchment paper is what we're using right now. But it's so much fun. 8x8 foot background, you get 2 of those, put them together, create a beautiful V-flat, and it just gives you an incredible result. So right now we're using one Ice Light 3 bicolor directly above Furley with a little bit of barn doors, giving us a bit of a sliver of light. Going to start that way and perhaps get a light behind her afterwards to illuminate that background. But for now, I quite like the way the light's just sort of fading off and looking really beautiful. Right now, Furley's standing very flat-footed, so we want to create beautiful shape. Now, we do have the light coming from the top. Now, remember, lighting from the front and the top is going to be very flattering. It'll bring out cheekbones, jawline, depending on how close you are to the subject. In this case, I just letting gravity take its course. The light is suspended off a C-stand. So what we're doing here is we're using the Ice Light with AC power. There's no battery grip on there. So if you're actually working indoors and you don't want to use the portable nature of the Ice Light, you want to actually lessen the profile of it. So take off the handle. You simply charge it with a USB-C cord. And right now, very simply, I have a great anchoring point, letting gravity take its course, those beautiful barn doors, and we're getting a beautiful narrow beam of light. But first, we have to pose her. Now, I mentioned earlier that we want to turn the body away from the light source and the face back in. In this case, she's standing front on. So what I want to do is create that shape with her positioning and with what she's doing with her pose. So I'm going to get her to mirror me. Okay, so let's do this. By the way, do you have a favorite side, Philly? Okay. Important that you ask your subjects if they have a favorite side of their face, because if you end up photographing someone on their less preferred side, they're not going to like those photographs. In this case, Furley is stunning every angle, and we're totally happy to play on both sides here. So what we're going to do her dress is quite even. Do you have a slit in that dress, or is it quite even the same? Okay, no problem. I feel like there's more embellishment on this side, on the camera right, her left shoulder. So I'm going to turn your body a little bit this way. Good. And then mirror me. Slide the heel back in, bend the knee a little bit, push your weight back. There you go, beautiful. Now this hand, I just want you to bring that elbow in. That's it, bit more, bit more, bit more, bit more, stop. We stop there because what I want to do is reveal the curvature of her bust. So I'm going to bring that elbow back a little bit. In this case, I want to actually shift her body weight behind, and here's how I do it. Now, I know, Fairly, we're great friends, but her hips aren't mine to touch. So here's what you do. Grab her own hand, bring it on her own hip, and then you can push the weight back a little bit. Do you see how we get more curve? And it's a nicer way of doing it without touching your client. Hands and shoulders, everything, I feel like you develop trust. You can touch shoulders, arms, and hands really with not much permission in a sense. When in doubt, you ask, is it okay if I touch your shoulders, arms, and hands? Can I touch your face? Can I move your head? But most of the time, mirroring is going to be the easiest way to do that. So what I'll do here, this hand, I want to bring it in the thinnest part of your waist. Doesn't matter what the body type, especially for the female form, the web of the hand should meet the thinnest part of the waist. So we're going to do that, and we're going to push your weight a little bit further, and then you're going to lean towards me. Now, Fairly's quite tall, so we need to correct our perspective because I want a quite heroic shot, but she needs to lean forward towards me. So chin down a little bit, turn your face this way, and your eyes will be back towards the camera there. Good. Okay, let's start it there and stand back a little bit and see how this feels. Oh, that looks so beautiful. Wow. I'm photographing with the Nikon Z8. I'm now using the 85mm f1.2. Even though that she's only about 6 feet away from the background, it looks soft and dreamy. It looks amazing. And this is only one Ice Light 3 bicolor. It looks absolutely beautiful. The key to the beautiful appeal of the Ice Light, among many things, in this case, it's those barn doors just giving us that sliver of light. Shooting at f1.2 just gives us that beautiful luxury. And I love the backgrounds. There's two 8x8 extra pros, parchment paper, and we're creating a beautiful V. And I'm actually looking at the ground there as well. I've got to be careful of getting that light stand in the way. So whether I just photograph it and I'm fine with it, I get rid of it afterwards in post-production. Someone like me, I'm sort of like a purist in many ways. I like to get it right in camera as much as humanly possible. So I'm going to turn the C-stand a little bit so I get rid of that particular base, and we'll make sure we have a sandbag to protect it there as well. So let's just do that here before we go too much further here. So whether you're photographing a quinceañera, whether you're photographing a bride or a beautiful dress like this, the way you relax it, sometimes like you might start and just sort of put it all out, but just loosen a little bit and then let gravity take its course and then get those beautiful drapes there. Beautiful. I might just adjust this a little bit here. Good. Okay, so bend that knee, so that beautiful shape. And again, lean your, that's good. Chin down this way. Oh, actually go straight onto me. Perfect. Chin up a little bit. Beautiful. Gorgeous. Relax your fingers a little bit on your waist. There you go. Gorgeous. Hold it there. That's it. Now, just breathe in. Breathe out. Keep your body positioning. Beautiful. That's good. Chin up. What I want you to do is as you breathe in, just feel uplifted and then just looking up. Ready? One. Give me that bend in the elbow though. Keep those curves. Gorgeous. Breathe in. Beautiful. Go for it. Stunning. And now, chin forward and down. And now eyes at me. Stunning. Beautiful. Gorgeous. Perfect. This hand now, very gently, just on here. Perfect. Do me a favor, but shuffle this way, micro shuffle this way. Stop. A very nuanced direction that I just gave. I used to ask people, hey, step to the right, step to the left, do whatever. And how big is that step? If I say micro step, it literally, like you can hear the little pitter patter of the toes, and people always get that direction. So that's an important one. Okay. So bring that hand back over here. Give me some nice curves. Beautiful. That's it. Good. Chin down. And down, down, down. Beautiful. Stunning. Hold it there. Good. Holding your hands in a nice little gesture. Good. Beautiful. That's it. Perfect. That's good. Perfect. Chin up a little bit. Giggling profusely. Looking at Wyatt. There we go. There we go. Beautiful. Remember, we're only using one Ice Light 3 bicolor, and we're actually using it on AC power. There's no battery grip at the moment, and it makes the profile of it a lot smaller, and it makes it easier to put on a C-stand directly above her. But look at the results that we're getting with one simple Ice Light 3. Absolutely exquisite. Now, I feel like I want to actually get Wyatt in, since we've got this very heroic, beautiful, glamorous feel. I love that V of the X-Drop Pros just basically framing her underneath, giving us almost like a natural vignette. And remember too, whenever you shoot down low and up sort of high, a couple of things have to happen. Get your subjects to slightly lean towards the camera to correct your perspective, but you also get that heroic look. And here, it's really, I mean, she's just absolutely beautiful and breathtaking, but I love that queen vibe where she's being uplifted. And you probably saw what I did before about getting her to breathe in and then sort of looking off into the distance. You can never look bored when you're breathing in. So it's a great tip that when you actually are having someone who's a bit disconnected to the shot or something like that, just breathe in, take the shot at the peak of that breathing in, and it'll be fantastic. Now, let's break things up a little bit. So I said before about turning the body away from the light source and the face back in. Of course, here we have the light perfectly front on. It's very flattering on her skin. It looks really beautiful. But if I turn her back away, I get that similar result that I was talking about. So let's do that. Do me a favor. So, Philly, come closer to me. Stop there. Turn complete 180 and look over your right shoulder. Okay, so let's look in the camera here. So you can clearly see that her back is quite flat lit. If I turn her body towards me a little bit, so turn and face me a little bit more, do you see how those shadows start to appear a bit more on her back, even though the lighting is still coming from the front? So I quite like that. So we'll adjust the pose a little bit. So that beautiful shadow here is gorgeous. We're going to grab this. And you're going to put one foot in front of the other. So if you want a nice curvier silhouette, you never get someone to stand shoulder length or even just like this. You're doing this, and again, you see that beautiful curve. Depending on the body type and the body shape, see right now she's shifting her weight back, so you're going to get more junk in the trunk, so to speak. It depends on what you want. Now, she's very thin. She's got a great figure. I actually quite like that way. Let's do it the other way. Weight in the front. I actually quite like that shape. It's got that beautiful hourglass figure. She gets away with it. Now, what we're going to do is this. We're going to hold her hands in front. If this gets connected over here and there's no gap of air, we don't get that beautiful silhouette. So you want her either to bring it completely away or like this where you see a triangular piece of air, which is what I'll do. In this case, I'm going to just get her around about here. So I expose the curvature of her bust. I get her back. I get that little triangle. And then we've got her gorgeous profile. Turn. And eyes down. Okay. Think of it like you're a chef and you're thinking of a dish and you're just constantly adding things to it. So now we come back. Okay, so now that I'm looking at this, I saw shadows of her on the background, but they were so delicate, didn't worry me at all. An argument would be that if I'm looking at her now and I see the shadow on the background, is that a problem? I feel like I want to bring this light closer to me and give her the exact pose so I can eliminate that shadow being so apparent in the shot. So let's do that. So if I can have one of the guys, can we just bring that light very carefully about just sort of more to the edge here? And then Fairly, I'm going to get you to come a few feet this way, so closer to me. Okay. Touch to the right, that's good. Hold it there. And again, just put your legs over the other. Beautiful. And then slide that back. Gorgeous. Beautiful. Tilt. That's it, eyes down. See, now I feel the shadow sort of frames her more rather than it be distracting, where it's sort of mirroring the shape of her dress. Stunning. Do me a favour, Philly, just your bangs. Just bring them off a little bit. By the way, I don't like the term bangs. I just think it's weird. I think bangs, it's a fringe. Like, actually, no, keep your bangs there, but just try to get them off your eyes. There we go. Just there. That's it. Nice. Beautiful. Gorgeous. Hold it there. Stunning. Hold it. So I'm photographing a couple, obviously, and one would say we should get them to look at each other or have a bit of fun or interact. Now, it just depends on what you're going for. Right now, I'm doing something quite stylized. Think of it like a potential movie poster or something like that, but something, the more I look at this, it reminds me of the Titanic movie poster, where you've sort of got Leah on the other side and Kate on the other side, but it's really fun. But I love the design here. This is important too. So see how before I talked about a waist, putting hands around a waist is a waste of a waist. In this case, when there is a gesture or something to do with the pose that actually adds to the emotion, the rawness of the emotion is going to outweigh the benefits of those curves, because we see the curves in a lot of other places already. She just slightly moved her hand a little bit this way, and there's a cute little sort of gesture. So I feel like we've got the formality of a pose, but if I can deconstruct the pose, then it's going to feel right. So I'm going to get them to lean forward towards me, by the way. That's going to force their weight on their back leg. And then bring your leg a bit closer there, mate. So you're sort of almost stand spooning. There you go. Yeah, beautiful. Love that. Yes. And then just bring your face beyond her bangs. Connect. So that's it. That's gorgeous. Beautiful. Okay, good. Giggling a little bit into each other. Chin up a little bit there, Fairly. Chin down there, mate. Turn your face this way for me, Fairly. Turn your face more. Good. Giggling into each other. Loving each other. That's good. Loving each other more than me. It's not possible. There we go. I'm using the Ice Light 3 bicolor as my main light source, and I'm now at 4,500 degrees Kelvin. So I'm adding a little bit of warmth. Why am I doing it? First of all, because I can. And second, I like the idea of actually creating a little bit more warmth here. We're not quite at the tungsten sort of level where it's that very warm light where it's almost too much, but this has got that beautiful golden glow about it. I think it actually really suits her golden hair, her beautiful maroon dress. And I'm going to first take a shot of her on her own with the residual light falling on the background. We're about maybe 7 or 8 feet from the background. But then what we'll actually do is have a background light and put it like a beautiful teal color using the Ice Light 3 RGB light. So let's see how that works. Okay. Beautiful. The light source in the background, because the ice light's prepared to go there. Turn your hips a little bit this way. That's it, just there. Gorgeous, beautiful shape, stunning. Actually, eyes just there. Good. Eyes at me. Beautiful little hint of a smile. Gorgeous. Chin down, eyes down. Okay, beautiful. So beautiful warm glow, looking absolutely exquisite. We are going to turn that teal light on using the app. All right, so you see the difference? Let's turn it off again. There we go. So you see the difference. So now we're using the 4,500 Kelvin degrees in the front, using the bicolor Ice Light 3. And then the RGB, we're going to add the teal color now. Oh, look at that. That's just amazing. Beautiful. Hold it. Gorgeous. Eyes down. That's it. Whenever you watch a movie, you'll actually find that sort of that teal and that amber color, those tones are really complementary. They really work well together. And because she looks very theatrical, it really goes that cinematic approach. Beautiful. Tilt your face this way again. Chin down a little bit. And turn your face this way again. Gorgeous. Hold it there for me. Just want to make sure, getting that little hint of the ice light in that shot. Of course, I don't want to get that. Stunning. Beautiful. Let me see what it looks like when you like this. And turn. 1 second, just there. And I've got to get rid of the ice light in the back. Hold on. Yes, beautiful. Hold it there. So it's always important to keep paying attention to your models. Now, I know that Fairly's a good mover. I think it's actually less of a great learning experience if I just get her to move and fire away. It's fun, but I want to build something from scratch. But I wanted to pay attention to this. always look at your subject matter in between shots. She just sort of did this and it looked really cute. And then I'm just going to refine it. So sometimes I'll think, well, wait a second, she might even have a better idea than I had organically, but then I press the pause button and I modify. So bring that shoulder up for me. Thing. Okay, beautiful. Hold it there. Stunning. Beautiful. So here's what we're going to try now. I've got those really cool parchment paper 8x8 X-Drop Pro background, and I feel like it's very tempting to just use one as the background. It's tempting to actually only use it as a V-flat, but I'm going to create a very cool dynamic where one's a little bit more forward, one's a bit further away, almost feeling like we're at the end of a wall or some kind of maze. And I like the idea of producing a shot where we're putting cold light on Wyatt. So think of it like we're going to use the Ice Light RGB, a very blue light cold, and we're going to use warm for her, but then use those backgrounds as a really cool compositional element. So let's see how it goes. So I want a cool photograph in two senses of that word. So certainly, I mean, Wyatt's got a cool vibe just generally, but I actually want that cold light, which I normally wouldn't do on the female form or the face, unless I'm doing something that's quite cinematic or I'm photographing an athlete or anything like that. But in this case, I want that sliver of light just on his face and it dwindling down. I want that shadow behind him looking really, really strong. And I like that foreground of the X-Drop Pro right in the middle, just giving me a very harsh line. So it's very dramatic. I'm going to do this shot first, and then I'm going to add Furley into the shot with a warm tone. So for the moment, let's just play here. What I've done is I've actually turned the Ice Light 3, the RGB one, I've turned the actual light to a colder light source, so basically like a blue gel, but internally with the LED light. But I've actually turned it horizontal, so I've got a sliver of light on him. It dwindles away, but giving us a strong shadow right behind him. So let's do this. All right. Cool, mate. Hold it there. Good. Hang your face a little bit more this way. Good. Hold it, mate. Hold it. That's perfect. What I feel like I want to do now is I want to get Furley in the foreground and I want to get warm light on her, and we'll get this beautiful contrasting warm and cool tones. Let's do that. So we're using the Ice Light 3 bicolor in the foreground, and we're adding that beautiful little warmth right on Furley, and then we've got that sort of that cold light using the Ice Light 3 RGB right in the background. Now, I feel like because this is almost meant to feel like a movie poster, I feel like I'm happy to shoot at f1.2, so I'm getting her in focus and he's sort of like soft and dreamy in the background. But I'm just going to have a look here. I feel like now what we've done, I don't want sort of any light actually hitting Wyatt. So I feel like I need to turn that light a bit this way. So let me do that. If I didn't have the barn doors on right now, this light will actually hit the background. So the barn doors are actually going to contain that light, which is really cool. So let's do that. Let's see if that's where I want it, because I want a sharp shadow. So the idea of using those lights in that particular way, I really wanted fire and ice. You know, fire as in we've got gorgeous Furley there in the foreground, looking beautiful and warm, then contrasting Wyatt's silhouette with a cool tone. I cropped into his shadow, allowed that negative space, but really the emphasis is on Furley, and then you sort of discover him. But I love that beautiful contrast, which of course now is possible with the Ice Light 3 RGB, and of course the Ice Light bicolor as well. But you put those in harmony together, it's a marriage made in heaven, and it looks so cool. So you've just witnessed me photographing a commercial portrait to show off the quality of the Ice Light 3. And certainly I'm very, very proud of this light. It's been an invention 12, 13 years ago, something like that. And we're in our third reiteration. To be honest, teaming up with Westcott from the original outset for me was a no-brainer. You have experts in lighting. I had an invention that didn't exist in the marketplace. This particular light created a whole new genre, which I'm very, very proud of. So I'm very, very proud to say that we were the first, and I'd like to say that we're still the best. But the idea of this particular portrait was to actually show off the light in all its glory, and we're glorifying the set. In other words, we're showing the light source, no different than, let's say, seeing an Annie Leibovitz portrait with a Hollywood light in the actual shot, or showing a light stand in the actual shot. So you've seen this kind of light being popularized in music videos, in many different things. And I remember one of my proudest moments was actually getting Sir Richard Attenborough holding an ice light illuminating the Galapagos Islands with one of our inventions. So that's a pretty cool thing. But the idea of having the third one out, and we took our time with it to get the best quality. But the idea is that, yes, have some fun, use the light source in the shot. You might get a really cool portrait. And if for nothing else, it's a good idea of showing you what a commercial portrait looks like in this whole idea. Looking at this portrait that I've got up there right now. So we created this wedge wall out of this parchment paper backdrop, the X-Drop Pro. And I love the fact that the light is illuminating and repeating those curves, which look absolutely exquisite. So just remember, there's harmony and repetition. Curves for days are beautiful, but remember too that if you have all these curves and repeating patterns, there's harmony in that. The minute you break that with something straight, then that break of repetition can look cool, but if it's straight, you're going to ruin the notion of the curves because your eye will go to the anomaly, not the repetition of that harmony. So try saying that 3 times backwards. All right, so let's do this. While we're there, you've probably seen and heard of clamshell lighting. Clamshell lighting is you've got one light on the top, one on the bottom. It could be on the side as well. But one of the benefits of the ice light, among many, is illuminating from the top and the bottom. Now, this can be done with any light source. It can be done with 2 speed lights, 2 strobes, 2 reflectors, whatever it may be. But the idea is you're getting beautiful beauty lighting, illuminating the face, giving us flawless light. So while she's in that wedge there, let's do that. 1 light from the top, 1 light from the bottom. Okay. The important thing to remember here is if this light on the bottom is brighter than the one on top, we're going to have some unflattering shadows in the upper cheekbones. So it either has to be the same brightness, or at the very least, this top one is slightly brighter. Okay, just about there. So I wanted to feature the Ice Light 3 RGB and the bicolor by actually introducing them into the portrait. So we've got that cold light on Wyatt looking really, really cool. Again, in 2 senses of that word, and that beautiful warm tone on Furley, which was really, really beautiful. And just remember, it doesn't matter what the light source, you just have to use it. Light coming from any direction. Just remember, if you don't understand the quality of the light, look at your hand, and the creases of your hand will emulate, let's say, the creases on a face. Just as we age, it just always happens. What I'm looking for when I'm looking at my hand, I'm looking for iridescence, saturation, for texture, depth, dimension, and form. So as I move my hand away, I get more of that. So with the ice light, if in a continuous light, we can position anywhere we want. If you're just starting off in photography, my suggestion is illuminate someone's face, it doesn't matter what light source it is, and then watch what happens when you turn the light away from the person's face. When you bring it lower, for example, you get that ghoul lighting, that really unflattering shadows in the upper cheekbones. Might be good for maybe a horror movie, or might be good for, let's say, a rapper or an athlete, whatever you're trying to do. If you're looking for something very flattering on the female form, bring the light up, beautiful light filtering through the face, and it works really well. Like right now, the lighting on my face is quite flat, quite flattering. As the light turns away, what I normally do is I'll turn that light away to a point where I don't get light on this ear. I retain the shadow on my face, and both eye sockets are completely lit. Don't forget, if you have a light source, it doesn't always have to be on the subject. The idea here is that I've actually shown you many ways that you can photograph a guy or a girl or a couple just on a couple of simple backgrounds. In this case now, I want to create a beautiful silhouette, a gorgeous shot, light filtering through. So I'm actually going to get the RGB ice light, bring it on the yellowest setting possible. I'm also going to put my white balance on shade, which will make it even more warm. And then we're going to create a beautiful silhouette. And let's see what we create. So fairly, not that you care, but I'm going to tell you what we're going to do, because it's an easy way of actually explaining to our audience at home what we're going to do. We are doing a multiple exposure right now, and we're going to take 2 shots and blend them into one. So I'm going to get you like this. You don't need to do too much, to be honest. Just lean forward and chin down. That's perfect. All right, so we are going to do a multiple exposure, or as I like to call it, a multiple explosion. And I am going to go into the single photograph made up of 2 photographs. I'm going to go on the darken mode, and we are going to get epicness. Right now, the idea is that I'm going to get a shot of her framing the image on one side, and then she's going to frame it on the other. It's hard to explain. You just got to let me do it. Beautiful. Hold it. Okay, so as you can see, there's a bit of a ghosting effect. So the Nikon camera system with the Z8 does a really good job of giving you an idea of where things are. Now, Fairly, going to come on the other side now. Okay, stay there for me. Obviously, I need to hide the light behind you. And I like the fact that you're slightly bigger in this shot. So do me a favor, come one step forward. So that's it. And then bring your hair a little bit behind you. And then come quite a bit closer to me. Okay. And this time I'm not going to get her eyes in the shot, but she's going to be bigger in the shot. So I have a bit of a point of difference. So it's not predictably the exact same shot. Okay, so I take my time. Okay. So they just come back a little bit. Come back. Stop. So I'm cropping her eyes out of this one. And I'm just angling the portrait a little bit. Okay, hold it there. Don't move. Hang in there. Okay, let's get ready for the big reveal. Are we ready for this? So remember, lighting is not always about illuminating your subjects. It's also about creating definition. And when we think of a silhouette implies we see the silhouette, the shape of something or someone. So with silhouettes, I find that most of the time we come into the mistake of actually not showing that perfect shape. For example, if Fairly was to smile, then the luxury of her lips would just be deadened. You'd see the silhouette of her teeth. It wouldn't work well. If you had 2 people put together and they were squished together, or their noses were touching, or they were actually kissing, it just wouldn't work. You're not seeing the air around the body parts and the features. We did a multiple exposure of 1 shot made up of 2 photographs, and we framed her with a slightly wider shot of her, and then went close up and just simply got her to be mirrored on the other side. And it's a really fun approach, but remember, it's not always about lighting your subject, it can be lighting the background. This is a very easy way to impress your clients, do something fun, and just change it up a little bit. I mentioned earlier in this episode that I often will turn the female form away from the light source and the face back in. So when you photograph anybody front on, you're photographing them at their widest. Now, certainly, Fairly's not white. She's got a gorgeous figure. But if you have to photograph someone from the front, especially this beautiful woman with this gorgeous gown, you want to show off curves and beautiful shape. So if we photograph her front on, the light comes from the side, so we get the shadow in the middle of the cleavage, the middle of a dress, of course, with the way we pose her. Posing is not just about flattery, it's also for purpose, but you also have to pose according to the direction of light. In this case, we're actually using the L120B, another incredible light from the Westcott ecosystem of continuous lighting that you can use in conjunction with the L60B, with the Ice Light. You can use all of these on one app and turn them on one at a time and use them in conjunction with each other. They're fantastic. In this case, we're using the Manny Ortiz Beauty Dish switch. And we've got an egg crate, which basically funnels the light and controls the light spill. I actually want a little bit of light and drama on here, light and shade on this particular background. To remind you, it's the 8x8 X-Drop Pro parchment paper, that sort of emulating that paper, which I'm sure you've probably seen from decades ago and repopularized with this kind of earthy look. So what we'll do now is pay attention to how I turn her body away from the light, her face back in, and create beautiful texture and depth on her body, and let's see how we go. Remember, with the female form, traditionally, I will turn her body away and her face back in. With the male form, I'll often turn the body towards the light. Now, people often ask me, well, when do I use the Ice Light? When do I use the L60? When do I use the L120B? Well, simply when I need more light. If I want to go portable and handheld, I'm going to use the Ice Light. If I want a controlled funnel of light, I use the barn doors, little slivers of light. If I need something more powerful, then I'm going to use the L60B, and they're fantastic little units, very affordable. Then you've got the 120, which, as you can see, it's giving off a lot of light, and we're nowhere near at full power at the moment. But using these in conjunction with each other, it's important that you develop, whatever lighting you use, an ecosystem, because all the lights work in harmony together, and it makes it so much easier to work, because equipment shouldn't be the barrier of entry in terms of being difficult for you to create the results. Your equipment should be a seamless blend of how you want to achieve what you achieve. So when the equipment sort of goes unnoticed, you know you're in the right ecosystem. So let's play with this one now. So let's take another shot here. We've got some negative space, a little bit, sort of a giggle just beyond there for me. That's stunning. Eyes on my hand. Looking that way, chin down a bit more, beautiful. Giggling a little bit, a bit of fun there, gorgeous. There we go, that's what I wanted. Beautiful. Now soften the shot there, chin down, turn your face towards the light. Just there, beautiful. Bring that elbow up a little bit that you had done before, that left elbow. That's it, too much, just come back a little bit. Okay. So let's take one shot here. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to add an accent light on the back. So let's do that. Let's turn that light on. You see that light just hitting the edge of her. It's giving us some separation, and it just adds that so much more depth to the image. So let's do that shot again. So eyes down, a little hint of a smile there, just a little one. You see these highlights and shadows here, they're great, but her face is so bright, and this is a bit dark. I find that I want a little bit more kick of light here, so hence just filling that in a little bit, and I quite like the idea of getting that beautiful highlight there as well. So might close those barn doors up a little bit, that little sliver of light and that sliver there, so we get that luxury, but it feels right there to me now. Let's have a look and see if it translates to the back of the camera. Yeah, that's beautiful. Eyes down, Dale. Stunning. So the great thing about continuous light, you can actually see what you're doing. Now, I have no problem in using speed lights or strobes or anything like that, but the cool thing about continuous light is continuous. You can see the result of that light illuminating based upon where the light is, where the shadow is, what's going to be more complementary. And if this was the very first video you've ever seen in photography, if I simply said, here, hold a light and illuminate the person in front of you until it looks good, you'll notice some similarities and some common denominators with what's happening. If you hold a light to someone's face, it's going to be soft and flattering. If you're going to hold it a little bit away from their face, you're going to cause a shadow on the side of the face towards the camera. If you use a continuous big light source like this, it can wrap around the person a little bit more. So in this case, to remind you, it's the L120 watt B, a continuous light in conjunction with, we actually shot one shot like this, and then we added an Ice Light 3 bicolor to give us a beautiful separation between her and the background. Now, both shots are warranted, and they're both great. But remember, you can use these in tandem, use them individually. But if you need power, portability, you've got the Ice Light 3. If you want a bit of more power, you might go the 60. If you want more power still, you've got the 120. The great thing is the ecosystem is there. You can use them on the app. It makes it so much more fun, so much more efficient. I really hope you enjoyed that episode as much as I did creating it. For me, I get the goosebumps from the creative process. And for me, I like nothing more than willing subjects, beautiful quality of light, and being able to create something from scratch. I would love to know your favorite shot of today. What were the teachable moments? What did you enjoy the best? And what will you try at home?